Welcome to Corsetry 101. Happy new month, everybody. This month we're going to explore all things corsets, and today's specific episode I am going to explain the difference between a waist trainer, a corset, medical corset, and all those things. So sit back, relax, and let's do this. As some of you may know, I make corsets. Apart from clothes, like the dress I'm wearing, I also made this corset. So today we are going to learn more about corset anatomy, because I know that generally there's a lot of confusion of what's a real corset and what's a fashion corset or what's a medical corset and all those things. So I'm going to explain that more, but I'm probably going to use a lot of voiceovers because I have a lot of footage, because thank God I make these things and I always record most of my process. So I'm going to do a lot of voiceovers, so you're going to get to see. So today we are going to explore corset anatomy so that you can be able to know the different types of corsets. I am not an expert in any way, but I have done a lot of research even as I was getting into corsetry. So I have a lot of sources for the information I have about corsets. So I'm not trying to say there are people who are lying that they sell corsets and there are people who are not lying. My research is based on people who have researched historical corsets that were worn 18th century, 16th century, that were traditional to the West. So that is where my basis for my knowledge is. I will probably give a vote of thanks for where I have gotten my information from at the very end. So here we are, and I would also like to acknowledge that I did not release an episode last week. I took a break, and also I realized that the episode I had wanted to do needed more time for research, so I couldn't produce that episode before my break. I've decided I'll do it at a later date, so watch out for the review episodes of Style Throughout the Ages, with styles that stand out throughout the ages. So welcome, let's start. First type of corset is the orthopedic corset or the medical corset that basically is used to support various parts of your back depending on the injury you have. So they are medical corsets, and in these images you'll see what they look like. Some have laces, some don't, but usually they are adjustable so that you can be able to tighten and loosen them according to the comfort level you want to wear them. These are usually prescribed in a hospital or a doctor, especially if you have issues with your posture and your back. If you have a back injury, people with scoliosis have worn these. So this is one type of corset. Up next is a waist trainer, usually also called corset online if you Google. And this is a bit different because it's part of shapewear. And the reason why I would categorize it differently is because it's usually made out of a stretch fabric. It does have bones in it. It could be metal bones, plastic bones, it really depends. And there are some that don't even have any bones. Some do have basques, some don't. Some have hooks and eyes, some you use Velcro to tighten it, but you cannot adjust it with lacing. That's the main difference between waist trainers and a mainstream corset. A corset is a woman's tightly fitting undergarment extending from below the chest to the hips, worn to shape the figure. It has various parts and types and distinct features that I am going to dwell more on in this specific episode as we explore corset anatomy. Men also have corsets, and they are called redincoat. The term stay was used to describe a stiffly boned garment. So basically a corset that's been stiffly boned, and the term corset referred to a supportive garment that was lightly boned or quilted. Both terms are used interchangeably to refer to the same thing, but a corset is the more mainstream word. Parts of a corset. So we start with the front. Most standard corsets will have a basque, which is what this is. It's used for fastening the front, and then it will have a back, lacing. And now another type of corset. Other corsets will have a zip at the front and still have lacing at the back. Lacing is standard for most corsets because it helps adjust the corset by loosening and tightening it. Third type of corset is like this waist cincher here. It will have no fastener at the front, but it will still have lacing at the back for adjusting. The lacing for this type of corset, because even overbust corsets can be like this, tend to be very, very long, so that you can be able to put it all the way through. So just something to note. A good corset will also have support on both sides of the eyelets, on this side and on this side, just to make sure there is support and so that it stands upright when you're wearing it. There are also several panels on this corset. The number of panels doesn't necessarily impact the sturdiness of the corset. It's actually the number of bones. The more the bones, the more reduction, the more sturdy a corset is. But of course, you can include bones in the middle of the panels. So, but it's always good to also just think through your design when you're making a corset, because it has to give you reduction and it also has to give you support. It gives you support on the bust, gives you reduction on the waist. If it is a waist cincher, it has to give you reduction on the waist. This particular corset is a double layer corset, meaning that it has an inner layer, an absorbent fabric that I used, and it has this outer layer that has all the decoration. I also included a modesty panel to hide, to give you basically coverage as you're zipping up. The back also has a modesty panel. I made a separate modesty panel for the back, as you can see, so that if you don't want to wear it, you don't have to. But all good quality corsets must have modesty panels as just part of the corset, because it just helps with decency wearing it. Yeah, just for coverage, but ideally you should always wear a corset with something else on the inside. This, however, is a single layer corset, which I went through a lot more in my video where I reviewed this corset. So it's only one layer when the boning channels are on the inside, but it's not between two pieces of fabric. These are called corset eyelets or grommet, depending on which country you are in, I guess. They come in different sizes. There's a standard size I use in all my corsets. As you can see in this other corset, they are way smaller. I personally prefer this size. This is just to compare the size difference. This helps you loosen and tighten because it's what you use to put the corset cord to be able to pull, corset lacing, sorry, to be able to pull and loosen your corset when you're wearing it. The lacing at the back of every corset, it's advisable to always have this. They're called bunny ears. It helps you pull in the corset because most of the time you're wearing it by yourself. You don't have anyone to help you. So most of the time these bunny ears will come right at your waist, because the whole point of a corset is to give you waist reduction. So you basically pull this. These ones tighten the top lacing, these ones tighten the back, sorry, the bottom lacing, and I just wanted to show you how bunny ears would look. I'm just showing you again the lacing at the back of a corset. This is for the overbust corset, and you can see it's all tightly laced. Usually there's a knot at the bottom that you tuck in, but yeah, usually right at the waist you tie it into a bow. So these are wriggling bones. Some people say wriggling bones. I guess it depends on your accent. These are, to me, the cheapest available boning here, and also the most They're not the strongest, let me just say it. I wanted to say flimsy, but they're not the strongest, and they're the most popular. So that's how they look. They're made of small plastic strands and then woven on into a fabric. So they come in white and black, and you can see from, they also come in different widths. You can see this is wider than this, so I just wanted to show the contrast. Yep. Another thing is that you can buy it in meters, you can't buy it in strands, and you can sew on top of it so it doesn't break your needle. So that's also something to note. These are plastic bones. You can see they are different types. Like this one has lines. I don't know if you'll see it clearly. This is one that you usually find on bras, and this is just a very tough type of plastic bone that's available locally here in Kenya. These two are not that I have found. A closer look, as you can see, lines, only lines, and then the other two don't have lines. This is a bone, the plastic bone with its boning case. Boning cases are bought separately. You can make your own or buy them. They're not available locally. Yeah, so this is from a thrifted corset, and this is where I have the bones in the boning case. You'll find most bras have the bones in a boning case. This is steel boning. To ensure that it is steel, you have to use a magnet, and if it's magnetic, then it's steel. So sometimes you never know if you're really getting the real deal, so that's a good way to check. And it comes in various widths, length as well. You can get them pre-cut like these ones, or you can get them in a roll like those ones, and you can see even the widths are different. So it's important when you're buying to communicate with the person you're buying from the width you want. Point of note, these are steel caps for putting at the edge of boning, the steel boning, either flat or spiral. You can see this one has, so it actually has to be according to the width of the boning you bought. You just can't put any end on anything. Yeah. Lastly, these are zip ties, otherwise known as cable ties, that people use as an alternative for boning. They're not very strong. The ones available here are very flimsy. You need the industrial quality to use it. Corset silhouettes are very diverse, and the main ones are overbust, waist cincher, and underbust corset. Corsets come in various lengths, widths, shapes, and they are a really great blank canvas for anybody to use in different ways. The main thing about corsets is that you always just have to make sure that the structure is sturdy enough to do what you want it to do. There are also capped corsets. Some corsets are made to push up your bust, some are made to flatten your bust, some corsets are made to make your ribs protrude. Slim people can wear corsets, plus size people can wear corsets. It's really very diverse. People have made bodysuits out of corsets, people have made gowns from a corset structure. They are just variations of corsets, and generally it's very, very open and a great blank canvas. That's it for today. So next week we are exploring myths and facts about corsets. Maybe some of the information will be repetitive, which is fine. It's always good to repeat information so that you can understand it. So watch out for next week's episode. Please comment, write your questions. If you have a myth you want me to debunk, I will do it. And don't forget that I do have sources where I get this information from. This is not just me saying it. It is generally the corset society, so to speak. There's a lot of information about corsets if you really check the internet. And I know that people want to know if men are really responsible for women not wearing corsets. You'll be very surprised with the answer. So let's see you next week. Bye.